You thought it was Saturday, but guess what? It's not Saturday. We're beginning the week off the second day of the week. The second day of the week. You know, if you think this is the first day of the week, you have your priorities all wrong, because the first day is Sunday. You begin the work day as the first day on Monday, but the first day is actually Sunday. Get your priorities right. Get your priorities right. And one of the things you have to do in getting your priorities right is tune into this show, the Commish Radio Show. The best radio show from Como to the Congo. And guess what? We're closer. No, not to the Congo. We're closer to Fort Worth. Hey, Como's right down the street, man. We're in Bedford, Texas. Bedford, Texas. I knew it. I've been talking bad about Bedford, Texas, but guess what? I'm right here in Bedford, Texas. We're in the new studios trying to get everything up and running. As you can see, we have all of the chairs. It looks like Fade Me with the Champions here. They already know I'm here. But you know what? You need to be right here in one of these chairs that we have so you can be a guest on the Commish Radio Show. And we are taking in guests all week long. This is the last week before finals. Well, not finals, but it will be the finals. It is early voting, starts on February 14th. February 14th. So those are the finals for the elections for March 1st, and we're going to keep it 100 on the show. And the best way to keep it, you like the way I did it.
I did. That's a great idea.
We're going to keep it 100 on the show because we have Marquise Hawkins, who's running for House District 100 right now. Marquise, how you doing?
I'm excellent, Mr. Gray. I'm excellent. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Fade on the Champ is here. I still hear it in the background a little bit. So I want them to hear my voice loud and clear because we want all of America to hear the voice loud and clear as well. So House District 100, Marquise Hawkins, man. I checked out your video the other day. I like that. We're going to play that when we get closer to the break. But right now, where we're at now is we have your flyers. Appreciate you for coming on the show. Tell us about yourself.
Yes, sir. Thank you. As I said again, thank you so much, Mr. Gray, for having me and giving me the space to share my story and share why I'm in this race. I was born to a mama who was strong enough to raise me by herself, and she instilled in me certain values. Among those were the idea that everybody should have access to opportunity. She taught me to respect everybody, to make sure that I always said my truth, and to be honest with people. And so I was able to punch my own ticket. I got scholarships to go to Morehouse College and Cornell University. But that wasn't enough work for me. I wanted to continue to give back and pour into children in the way that so many adults had poured into me. And I decided I wanted to be a public school teacher. I went down to Houston, was a public school teacher for 7th and 8th graders. And they changed my life and my understanding of how adults need to show up for kids.
Okay. From Dallas, Texas?
Yes, from Dallas. Yep.
Dallas, Texas.
Yep.
Where'd you go to school at?
Irving MacArthur. Irving MacArthur.
Well,
yeah.
you're familiar with this area.
I
right?
do. Yeah, in mid-cities, I'm exactly.
Where
yes.
was that? So when I said Bedford, you wasn't.
Oh, it wasn't exactly.
Okay,
I could find my
Oak
way.
Cliff boy, I was like, you just don't want to come.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Well, I live in Oak Cliff now. My family grew up in Oak Cliff too, and so we went to Irving for a little bit, but made my way back to South Oak Cliff.
Okay, South Oak Cliff. Where's House District 100? Where exactly is that at?
House District 100, if you look at it on a map, it basically looks like a belt around the downtown part of Dallas. So it goes all the way from West Dallas. It starts out, let's do it from west to east. It starts over in West Dallas near where now they're calling it Trinity Groves, but West Dallas is what I remember.
Yeah, well, it was West Dallas when it was West Dallas when it had black people.
Exactly right. So we can't.
That's when you know the neighborhood's changing when they change the name. When Oak Cliff becomes Oak Hollow or something like that, then you know ain't nobody black live there no more. But go ahead.
So we start over in West Dallas. Take it, just guide around where I-30 is, but basically everything to the south of I-30. We get some parts of Wynwood, keep going across 35 to where I live in South Oak Cliff, Cedar Crest. Keep going east, we get Fair Park, or we get Southside Lamar in that area where Botham John now is, and then we get South Dallas, the Cedars, that area. Keep going east, and then we get Buckner Terrace and East Dallas and Far East Dallas as well. And so it goes just a little bit above 30 and ends basically around like the Jim Miller and the Military Parkway. A little bit of Pleasant Grove gets picked up in it too.
So you've been walking?
Oh yes, sir. We've been knocking doors, walking every single day since we announced this.
So what have you been hearing?
Everybody wants to know what you're going to do for us on day one. In House District 100, I feel like we're one of the most diverse districts in all of North Texas, and all of Texas, and particularly in North Texas. But everybody is talking about all kinds of varying issues, but everybody says we need somebody to stay in the seat and to actually show up for us and be there for us. And that's what I intend on doing. In the last, when I'm elected, I'll be the 4th state representative the folks have had in the last 5 years.
So state rep for a year, and
Right.
That's what's been going on.
And in many cases, so we started with now our current mayor Eric Johnson, who left the seat to become mayor, and then we had a special race to fill his seat, and then former state representative Barbell won that election. She was there for a little bit during the period where session ended, and then she was in that and filling out Mayor Johnson's term, and then our current state representative Jasmine Crockett was elected, and so then the next person in the last 5 years, it's so crazy. The folks are just like, well, who is our representative now? That's what I'm getting at the door. People are saying, well, I don't even know who the representative is now. I want to make sure that you're actually going to do the work and stay in the seat.
So will you actually do the work? You're not going to leave after like 2 years and run for
my word is I'll
another
be,
office or anything.
My word is I will.
Everyone seems to be doing it.
My word.
I'm just
completely understand. That's again to the point.
If I was in your district, and all it just takes is for me to do through gerrymandering, someone move me there.
Right.
But it's like that's what's happening.
That's what's happened. You have my word. I will be the state representative, and I'm only concerned about the issues of the folks happening in House District 100. Of course, I'm interested in every issue that affects Texans, but I'm primarily interested in staying in the seat to make sure that we take care of folks in House District 100.
Okay, so you from Dallas?
Yep.
Where'd you go to school at?
And Irvin McCarthy. Oh yeah, I went to Morehouse College and then to Cornell University on scholarships, as I said, and it was a tremendous experience. It was one of the best experiences of my entire
Morehouse
life.
and Cornell
University.
Oh
yes, Morehouse specifically, and then Cornell was a nice cherry on top, but Morehouse, it changed my whole life. And
how did Morehouse change your life?
To go to a place where it seems it is the epicenter of Black intellectual thinking, Black academia. Imagine you're just around top tier Black folks, men and women, every single day. That's your lived experience for 4 years. I met some of the most brilliant folks, was taught by some of the most brilliant folks, and I would never change that experience. I knew that I wanted to go to an HBCU, and it was after like the first week at Morehouse, I said I picked the right HBCU. So
now I understand HBCUs are now being threatened now.
Oh yeah. We had 16 last week?
16 last week.
Yeah.
Folks, this is serious business, man. Serious
Yeah.
business. It's like the 1960s all over again.
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
Cornell University.
Yes.
About your experience at Cornell.
Yeah, Cornell is in a very interesting place. It's in Ithaca, New York, upstate New York. So you don't get people think about New York as like the big lights and big buildings. Ithaca is like a farm town. But it's a college farm town where there's both Ithaca College and Cornell University there. And then there's another community college there. And basically, everybody's around your age. The entire town is basically between the ages of 23 and 30. And so that was a dynamic experience in and of itself. I got my my first introduction into politics there because there they have a place where you never expect this. A young African-American man is leading their city. He's been leading the city since I was in grad school. His name is Savante Myrick, and he's been mayor of that town and a rising star in New York politics for a long time. And I sat with Savante, helping him on his first campaign to become mayor, and he's the first African-American to become mayor of Ithaca, New York. We did a lot of good things for people, specifically in Ithaca, because sometimes, the universities take advantage of the folks who actually live there. And we tried to make sure that we were expanding opportunities for folks that live in Ithaca, who always have been in Ithaca. And so that's where I sort of got even my on-the-ground training from that.
So you left Cornell University,
Yep.
Then what did you do?
I went to be a teacher. I said I got this. I studied policy at Cornell, so I'm a person who reads public policy all the time. I read white papers. I'm kind of in some ways a little bit of a nerd that way because it's something that fascinates me. But I had a 30,000-foot view of education policy at Cornell, and I said, well, if everybody has all the answers, why isn't the education fixed? I was like, doesn't make any sense. And so I said, okay, first, I actually need to see what's going on the ground because I want to be a person who makes sure that kids are not in the situation that they currently are in. And so I decided to become a teacher, and I taught in the Sharpstown neighborhood in Houston to 7th and 8th graders. And again, it turned my whole perspective on education completely around.
How so?
Everybody thinks, oftentimes, especially if you're a teacher and you get you know that you have all these tests that you have to take before. And they try to make it seem as if like you live in a perfect environment where kids have all the resources available to them and you're supposed to answer the questions in that way. One of the tests particularly is called the PPR. If you're a teacher, you know the PPR is, that's not how the world works. You know the situation that your kids
what does
walk in.
PPR stand for?
It's that's a good question.
How
I
you
cannot
failed that
remember
test?
exactly. I know I passed it. I know I passed it, but I cannot.
No, the first one.
I think it's.
I got that right.
I think it's something like.
It's like a perfect word.
Preparation. Exactly.
Yeah, everything's perfect.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay, so
it might as well stand for perfect practice.
We had IPC when I worked for the phone company.
Yeah.
We call them ideal plant conditions.
Okay.
Which means that
Yeah.
you went to here and you pressed this button and everything worked in perfect
perfectly.
order.
Exactly.
And there's no such thing as ideal plant conditions outside.
Not at all.
Everything doesn't work.
Never. And I never read policy papers where people were saying, well, look, kids in particular zip codes might have like something as small as that we take maybe even for granted, the lack of access to internet to get any homework done. Things like that, those aren't in policy papers. That's also not in those tests that you take to become a certified teacher in Texas. You're just told, hey, kids aren't completing their homework assignments or kids aren't completing projects. There are a lot of other levels to why maybe they're not. It's not because they're not wanting to do the work. I 100% believe kids want to do well. Kids don't show up saying, well, I want to fail. Kids don't think that way. They want to make sure they're pleasing adults and they're making sure that they want better outcomes in life for themselves. And so you're confronted with a test that says, well, look, the kids aren't completing homework. So what are your options? Punish the student.
Right, that's first option.
Is that right? Punish the student.
That's normally what happens.
Punish the classroom.
But no one asks, why didn't you finish it? I don't have internet at the house.
That's a huge thing. And kids...
Or my home conditions are not
that's exactly
conducive for me
to get this done.
To get this done.
That's right. None of those answers...
You didn't ask me that.
Exactly. None of those answers are on the test. But those answers are the things that I had to deal with as a teacher. And so I went into the classroom not expecting those things initially. After after day 4 in the classroom, I said, okay, wait. I have to think about this very, very differently and understand like even the challenges I faced as a student. I've got to really ingrain that into my kids about like, okay, this is how I know how to meet my students. So I did all kinds of differentiated learning. I met my students exactly where they are, but kept the bar exactly where it needed to be for them to succeed.
Now, how long were you teaching?
For 3 years.
3 years?
Yep.
For a whole 3 years? You said, I got enough of this and I'm out.
Well, I wanted to move back to Dallas. I'm from Dallas.
Okay.
I don't like Houston that much. I
must admit. That means that you won't be running for office in Houston.
Right. Exactly. Dallas is home.
What did you do when you moved here?
I went to work for the school district. I still wanted to make sure.
Still in education? Okay.
I worked in Dallas ISD, making sure. I worked on a special team called the Special Projects Team, and it was in the people department, the HR department.
Right.
And basically, we were tasked with deciding and understanding what are better ways that we can incentivize people to come into the teaching profession. And one of the biggest things, we're doing a lot of research and reading a lot of working papers, but doing a lot of presentations and things, and doing site visits as well in high-performing school districts. And we wanted to just bring those things to Dallas to say, well, at that time, we had about 53 underperforming schools in all of Dallas. 53 where kids were not meeting the mark, and the adults clearly weren't meeting the mark for kids. And so we were like, how are other places? Our kids aren't different from other kids across the country. How are other school districts high performing, making sure that we have better outcomes for kids? We took those examples and brought them to Dallas, and now, I mean, we've still got our serious challenges in Dallas ISD, but we're nowhere in the space that we were now almost 7-8 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Since we got you from Ithaca,
Yep.
New York,
Yep.
and now we got you down in Houston.
Yep.
We're gonna get you eventually. We got you
Yep,
back to
exactly.
Dallas.
Yes.
So when we come back from this break, so Angela, let's play his let's play his flyer, his campaign flyer, his digital campaign flyer. And when we come back, we're gonna see what's up with 100.
Perfect.
We're gonna keep it 100.
Sounds
all right?
good.
All right.
All right.
Commish Radio Show.
This is my neighborhood, Oak Cliff, the heart of House District 100. It's one of the greatest places in all of Dallas. A rich history, thriving small business, and a neighborhood where everyone is always looking out for each other.
But in spite of all of the amazing attributes about my neighborhood, the outlook for far too many is bleak. Some can't afford the rising property tax bills, and most young people can't afford rent. Everyday students watch their dreams evaporate because of a lack of access that they deserve. And even worse, our elders don't have access to adequate health care and fear a health diagnosis. We simply cannot accept this as normal in our district. I'm Marquise Hawkins. I was born to a mother who instilled in me the values of hard work, perseverance, but above all, a belief that while success is not guaranteed, we live in a nation where if you work hard, any opportunity should be possible. We didn't have much money, so we struggled. But it was only with the help of family, friends, and public school teachers who wouldn't give up on me that I'm here today. They would say, go to school, get your lessons, and bring home a degree. So I did just that, graduated from Morehouse College and then earned my master's at Cornell. Then I became a public school teacher because I wanted to impact students in the way that so many adults had impacted me. I pushed my students to excel to the highest levels because I didn't want their climb to be a seat as society often wants to make it. I taught them that they had the power inside of them to change their lives and their surroundings. In House District 100, we too have the power to reshape the lives of people who so desperately need our help. And that's why I'm proud to be a candidate for House District 100, because it's our time. It's our time to demand property tax relief for both homeowners and renters. It's our time to give every student a fair shot at life by providing them the access to an excellent education while also putting the needs of public school teachers and support staff at the forefront. It's our time to fix the broken criminal justice system that disproportionately convicts Black and brown people. It doesn't take 100 years to do this. It just takes political will and courage. I know how to fight hard and make sure that we are improving lives. Because if Austin starts to look and think like us, just like Dr. King said, there's no stopping point short of victory. My mom always said that the only thing that you ask people for is a chance. I'm asking you for a chance to finally change the outcomes of our neighbors in District 100. In this election, more than any other, we can deliver real change in the lives of everyday people because this is our time. I'm Marquise Hawkins, and I need your vote to become the next state representative in House District 100.
Text, make sure my southern twang comes out when I say Dallas. Keeping it 100 in the 100, man. People been chiming in. Brother Kenny Lee Fields has said that you're Mr. Educator, so you're doing a lot of stuff in the community. People are chiming in, saying that. Thank you for saying that, and also pass this out. We want to make sure that Facebook doesn't shadow ban us like they normally do. That's the reason why we play local music, so they won't, shadow ban us. But also share it on YouTube. Also follow us on other forms of social media. We already did our IG Live.
Yep.
So we did that.
Yes,
so
sir.
IG Live, and we got IG covered, and we were going to tweet it out as well, so Twitter. So we got all the things covered in social media, but, how are we going to cover things in the 100? And looking at your platform here, let's reimagine criminal justice. Most people say defund the police.
Right.
I don't see that here. I see reimagine criminal justice. What's your word on that?
Yeah, I'm hearing this at the door too, Mr. Gray. No one is going out saying that they want to live in an unsafe environment. It doesn't matter if you ask people who have Blue Lives Matter flags on their cars or people who are chanting defund the police. No one's saying that they want to live in unsafe environments. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I think that we're just sort of talking past each other. And it just is a language difference. We're talking past each other. We all kind of want the same things. And so when I talk about reimagining criminal justice, I think that for me, and then the things I'm hearing at the door, is that people want a fair shake out of the criminal justice system. They don't want to be targeted just because they happen to be black or brown or whatever color of skin. They want to make sure the criminal justice system is treating them fairly. That's what it says it's supposed to do.
So that's your deal.
Yes, yeah.
You're treating fairly.
Yes. So, for example, one of the biggest things I think about reimagining criminal justice that actually plays in everyday lives of people who are sitting right in Lusteric right now
Right.
is the idea of bail reform. Why are we having a cash bail system for people who have small, well, before DA Crusoe was around?
Small amounts of weed in the
Small
pocket.
amounts of
That's
marijuana.
just but
These
straight
are
up.
common sense kind of things. It's
Right.
like, well, why are you keeping folks in jail?
Something that if they were in Denver, Colorado,
No
wouldn't
questions
do
asked.
things.
No questions asked. I'm like,
But because you're in Dallas,
right. That doesn't make any sense to me. And for certain nonviolent criminal offenses for folks who committed those before the age of 25, why are we not re-examining these things and telling folks that, well, you were 19 and made a bad mistake and you've got to spend 10, 12, 15 years of your life paying for it. Why don't we re-examine those things? I think that these are just two examples of how we can reimagine criminal justice. But then we got to go sometimes even further about the reallocation of some resources. Is that, in Dallas, we voted on a budget where we have mounted horses. Okay, like I don't know how well mounted horses are doing in Deep Ellum policing, but that's where I see them most, and that's where a lot of crime is. I don't see a lot of
that's for sure.
Right, exactly. And we're talking about this is to the tune of almost $1 million.
But you can get in between those little small streets
Right.
with mounted horses.
Exactly. Right.
That's fine.
I'm thinking, couldn't an organization like Fort Oak Cliff do a lot more with the mounted horse budget that the Dallas Police Department is using?
Yeah.
So those kinds of things.
All right, so we have 1 hour. We want you to come back.
Yeah.
But how many people in this race?
There are 4 of us in this race. And
4.
we're all good friends. Yeah.
All good friends.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. You got to be good friends. Y'all been doing the same town hall meetings and so forth.
Yeah.
Voting rights protection.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah.
And we have enough chairs right here. If we had them here, that we could do a little forum right here.
Right.
So we have enough chairs here for that. But Voting Rights Act protection.
Yeah.
What about that?
We saw far right-wing extremists try to basically restrict people voting in our state in the last legislative session. All kinds of things came out of the last legislative session, but for me, the right and access to voting is most fundamental that was targeted, and we got to, and of course, roll those things back. But if we can't get them rolled back, we got to actually put a dent in some of the actions. We even see it right now. There are millions of people across Texas that were requesting mail-in ballots, and they got rejected because they didn't. Now, based on the new law, you got to include the last, I believe it's the last 4 or some part of your driver's license number in there, or your ballot or your request for a mail ballot. It's automatically rejected. We already see that was bad public policy if people can't even access mail balloting. One thing that I know that I can actually get done in Austin, I've already been talking to folks about this, is an online voter registration process where we're one of the only states. First, we're the second largest state in the country, and we don't offer everybody an automatic online voter registration option. Seems to be we're in 2022.
So we don't where you can register to vote online,
And you can. So right now, what will happen?
just like you do for a driver's license.
For a driver's license. For any almost every other, you can pay your taxes online. You can get a new driver's license online. You can even request a book online, but you can't register to vote online.
Are you going to propose that?
Absolutely. That's one of the first things on my agenda. And there are people on the other side of the aisle who aren't necessarily extremists, who say, well, that makes common sense. Let's make sure everybody can vote online in Texas.
Okay.
Or register to vote online.
Okay. Lowering property taxes.
Yes, sir. Now, I'm going to tell you this. In certain neighborhoods, I'm hearing that more often than not at the door. Whenever I'm knocking folks' doors in a lot of the transitioning neighborhoods across District 100, so like around in West Dallas, where they're putting in
transitioning neighborhoods. That's a nice way of saying gentrified neighborhoods.
Exactly.
I want to break this down, people. I haven't did my typical Oak Cliff salutation and disclaimer. Oak Cliff, that's my hood type thing. Transitional. He talking about your neighborhood that now all of a sudden these homes now, they're remodeling these homes, and now boom, well, the neighborhood's definitely changing. And
Yeah.
property taxes are going up, and,
Yep.
and you have to be able to pay to stay.
Yeah, yep. I live next door to a man who was a union worker. He worked at a union print shop for about 40 years. He's retired now. He's 61 years old, and he's owned his house, corner house, one of the most beautiful houses
Sounds
on the
like
block.
me.
Yeah, for 31 years. He's not 65 yet, so he can't apply for homestead exemption just yet. He's saying that his property tax bill goes up and up and up every single year, and we live not too far from where the deck park is going in. His house is
Another deck part?
Oh yeah, we're building a whole brand new deck park that's going to basically merge almost the Bishop Arts area with the zoo, so that it becomes a walkable area.
Ah,
And that's an attractive.
message.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's an attractive thing because as a young person, I would not mind riding my bike down there, but I also want my neighbor to stay there. He's put in all of the work to make sure that we can be an attractive neighborhood for a deck park. He's lived there for over 30 years.
Okay, is 10th Street in your district?
It is. Yep.
Yeah, what are you going to do for the people in 10th Street? This is my deal about
Yeah.
10th Street, because 10th Street is a freedman's town.
Yes, it is.
It's
Yep.
one of the
Yep.
last remaining freedman's town that was settled by the descendants of African Americans who were enslaved, which is different from, say, I never claimed slavery.
Yeah.
That's a condition of mine.
Right.
So what are you going to do for those folks there?
Yeah. So the two things I'm pushing for. The first thing is I feel like it might be for some it might be a dynamic proposal, but it's a common sense kind of thing, public policy that people are doing all across the country. It's called a circuit breaker. So a circuit breaker exists in 25 and about to be 25 states, about to be 26 states by 2024, where just like in your house, there's a circuit breaker. When the power gets to a certain point, it'll just cut off. In the same way, in all these other states, what they do is say, well, if you have you have a disability, or you have you're not, in some cases, if you're not able to pay your property taxes because of the economic condition, but the biggest one is that they tie your property taxes to not how old you are, but how long you've owned your property. So, for example, in many of these states, they say, well, listen, after 12 years, if you own your property there, you no longer pay property taxes. Doesn't matter how old you are. So, for example, my neighbor, he's 61 right now. He's owned his house for 30 plus years. His property tax bill will be just turned off because you've been invested in this community long enough where you say, well, you don't pay property taxes here anymore. And so for folks in 10th Street, almost everybody there has owned their houses for, and I don't necessarily know what the number is for Texas, but I'm eyeing it at least about 10 years because that's what's happened in other states. If you owned your house for more than 10 years, you no longer pay property taxes and no one can come get your property, basically.
Well, what does that do? Does that mean we're going to have an income tax in the state of Texas?
No, absolutely not. The crazy enough, in most of these states, they do it at a cost neutral level. We've got about a $24 billion surplus that's about to come to Texas in the next legislative session. That's why property taxes probably needs to be taken care of out of that money in the next legislative cycle.
Okay. All right, so we have a couple more questions before we bail out. Expanded Medicaid
Yep.
and Medicare. Texas, as you know, and for those that don't know, we don't pay no money in Medicaid and Medicare. I think we've opted out on certain things.
Well, we haven't. The governor has for us.
You
we
mean-
haven't. Oh no, we haven't.
So explain what happened on that.
It's so interesting how Republicans act about. It seems like they speak with out of one mouth, or one side of their mouth, and another language out of their other. They talk about this idea that they want local control. It's in their platform that they are advocating for local control. But yet they're ceding control to Governor Abbott, who technically has the final say in whether or not we do Medicaid expansion or Medicare expansion in this state. We leave $15 billion functionally in a safe deposit box that is earmarked for Texas in healthcare and healthcare funds. He says we don't need that money. I talk to people all the time that say they need more money for their healthcare expenses. I know people in East Texas who say, well, I'm paying more property taxes to support a healthcare system in East Texas. If we got money on the table, and these are Republicans talking, we got money on the table that we're not even accessing, That doesn't make any sense. Let county judges decide, who are extensions of the state, let county judges decide if they want to access that $15 billion, not Greg Abbott. Greg Abbott should not be controlling what goes on in our access to healthcare in our state.
All right, so we understand, obviously, you don't like Greg Abbott. We're going to take a couple of minutes for another break, and when we come back, we'll go for a closing. And we will keep it 100 with Marquise Hawkins, who's running for House District 100. All right.
Beautiful Arlington, Texas on Fishbowl Radio. You can catch me every Wednesday from 6 to 7, and we play all this war music, and you get to hear some of the songs that I wrote when I was in the band War, how I created the songs, the stories behind it, and we start off with the blues. You have a good time talking to me, so tune in every Wednesday from 6 to 7 and catch the Howard Scott Show. We're having a whole lot of fun on Fishbowl Radio.
Jump in.
My name is Byron Williams, former NFL player. I'm with the NFL Players Association, and when I'm not in the community, I'm listening to Mr. Ed Gray, the commish.
This is Sheldon Smith, president of the National Black Police Association Dallas chapter, with my good friend Ed Gray on Commish Radio every Saturday. Tune in.
What's up, beautiful peoples out there? It's your boy Maul, a.k.a. Cool Pop Watson, baby. Make sure you check my man out. 3 to 5 every Saturday. Commish Radio Show. Make sure y'all come check my man out.
Hey, what's up? This is Tad Nips, host of We the Poets, broadcasting live each and every Friday at 7 p.m. Central from FBRN Studios at Globe Life Park in Arlington, Texas. Log on to hear exclusive artist interviews taking on topics specific to the culture. So catch us every Friday, 7 p.m. on Fishbowl Radio Network. We the Poets. Jump in.
Hey, how you doing? This is Ed Gray of the Commish Radio Show. Stay tuned and tune in and be up to speed on everything in social justice, human rights, and politics on the Commish Radio Show, airing every Saturday, 5 p.m. on the Fishbowl Radio Network.
Jump in.
All right. Commish Radio Show back again, and for the third time back again. Mr. Hawkins, what do you think about the studios we have here? You're our first guest here, period. Now, when I first went over to Fishbowl, I could look out the window and I could see the rides at Six Flags.
Yep.
Angelo, I know you remember that. We could see the rides at Six Flags, and we could hear the people screaming on a roller coaster. And then we moved from there. We moved to the ballpark, Globe Life Park, and we was there. You know, it was a good vibe too, because I felt like I was like doing ESPN radio, and now you get the first look here. And I mean, you know, they
nice
greeted
thing.
you when you first came
Absolutely.
in. They said, you know, they had wine and cheese and stuff like that. You know, so we had that. So we're glad we have you here in the studios, and we're glad you came through, man. So I told you you're breaking all kind of grounds here, man. All kind of grounds here. So we're looking at your flyer. We've been covering the education portion. Strong public schools, and we talked a lot about that earlier. What do you think is the major thing that the House of Representatives, the State House, need to do to improve public schools?
Yeah.
Critical race theory.
It's crazy.
Move the mic a little closer to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, critical race theory was one of those other things that the extremists that I talked about earlier were targeting. You know, these are just things that they're trying to red meat that they're trying to get to folks. Culture war kind of things they're trying to get to folks to rile them up and distract them from them actually not giving them the things that they actually need for their everyday lives and for their kids actually. That from the voting rights protection things to the trans and sports kind of things. There was a whole culture war attack this last legislative session where bathroom bills, all kinds of things that people it doesn't help people's daily lives. That doesn't help people get jobs. That doesn't help people and their outcomes for their kids or their neighborhoods. We got to really start focusing on those things. But, as an educator, that's education outcomes is like one of the things that's really, really important to me, and making sure that we can have actual good legislative actions at the state level. That's extremely important. So first, as a former educator, I am baffled why there hasn't been more public outcry that the state has not given retired teachers and support staff a raise in almost 20 years. We talking about, you see on the news right now, and of course you see it in your everyday life, prices are going up all over our state and our country. So inflation is real for a lot of folks. And you're telling me that we haven't given our teachers and support staff who put in the work, who don't necessarily, they were not necessarily in the classroom anymore, who put in the work to make sure they're educating them, even some of the people who are working in Austin. We can't give them a raise? That's the first thing on my agenda, is to make sure every retired teacher has a raise. TRS, which I'm a member of, TRS is the Texas Teacher Retirement System. It's a kind of pension program. It is a pension program that is basically not fully funded. My proposal is to make sure that we are, instead of lagging behind 20 years, or it could be 25 years in the next, by then 25 years in the next legislative session, why don't we put in a permanent cost of living adjustment that goes every 2 years when the state legislature meets, where every single teacher, retired teacher, and the support staff person is able to get a raise every 2 years, just like when that coincides with whenever the Texas state legislature meets. And it's back funded. We have the money right now, but it's back funded by our rainy day fund. I feel like we got to do that for our teachers. That's only right.
Now, giving them a raise, why do you think that doesn't pass? We have some of the law. We pump money into our school districts, because we have some of the best made football stadiums in the country.
Yeah.
How do we you do that? I mean, how can you get the other folks to, lack of a better word, defund these football stadiums and fund the students?
Yeah. So that gets down to our formula for how we fund public schools in Texas. The state, I guess now 2 sessions ago with HB3, we did a little bit in the way of making sure that the state gave its fair share to localities to make sure we're funding education. But at the same time they did that, they put a cap on how much you could raise teacher pays by, which is crazy. You say, well, here's some extra money to do better things for kids and to do better things for the adults teaching kids. But at the same time, we're going to cap how much you can pay teachers, basically.
What's the cap?
Well, it depends on your locality. And so the caps vary. So if you're in the Rio Grande Valley, it's a different kind of cap. It's based on
standard of living,
your property tax, your property tax rate,
property tax.
Right.
That's even worse.
Which is crazy because now the state was paying.
Somebody in Highland Park would get a larger raise, obviously.
Potentially, yes. Yep. In this environment, we're seeing that the state was supposed to be paying 50% of education expenses for a kid in Texas. Now we see they're only paying around between, it depends on where you are, but about basically around 30% is funded from the state government. You know why your property taxes are high? It's because the other 20% got to be made up somewhere. Because they got it. So now we're paying that extra 20% in bigger cities like Dallas. State needs to be paying their fair share of making sure what it costs to educate kids in our state. I'm going to push to make sure that we get that done.
Now, COVID. Now, this isn't on your flyer.
Yeah.
I'm just talking off flyer, so to speak.
Yeah.
How has that affected your life, and also how has it affected your campaign?
Yeah.
I mean, you're knocking on doors.
Yeah.
Aren't you scared, or lack of a better word?
I'm always
apprehensive.
Absolutely. While we're in the studio,
you must really want this job bad. You're just knocking on people's doors. Hey.
Yeah, well,
and want to talk to them.
Exactly.
I want them to come to the door.
Absolutely. Okay. And so I'll tell you, personally, I actually, at the very beginning of the pandemic, I lost my uncle. And so it hit me deeply and personally because I lost a family member within the first.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
I lost my mother during that time.
It was, the very beginning of this pandemic was absolutely crazy for the country and, of course, absolutely crazy for me personally. And as we move forward into this, people, I definitely, as you said, I do want them to come to the doors, but I'm always masked up. I got Hawkins for Texas 100 mask that I always wear.
Oh, you have it?
I do. Hang on just a second.
Okay.
I got Hawkins for Texas mask, and I'm always cautious when, because a lot of the voters I do talk to are older. There are elders who, are, of course, are more likely, more prone to suffer harsher health damages from
people like me,
and not necessarily you, because some folks say,
hey,
I thought you 37.
Right. Yeah, I just celebrated my birthday. I celebrated.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I said this is the 40th anniversary of my 20th birthday.
Nice. All right.
So that's it.
That's good. That's good to know. Listen, you're young. You're young at heart, brother. You're young at heart, and I want to always make sure we're keeping our elders safe, though. And so I'm always masked up, but. As I said, I do want people to come in the door, but COVID's effect on us is extremely dynamic, and we're going to really the effects of it we're still in the middle of a pandemic.
It's true.
The effects of this pandemic are really not going to be seen until the next legislative session and the one after that.
I think about 10 years later we'll figure it out.
We'll finally figure it out. Exactly.
Because it's things now that I can see personally. Like you go to some stores, they drive through after 8 o'clock.
That's it. Yeah, it changed our whole way of life. It changed
6
our whole
feet
way.
away is like always like that. Stand in line at the store.
Exactly.
It's like people used to be all up on you.
That
doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen anymore.
Step back.
Exactly.
And then back. You don't know me like that.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I also in the education piece is that this learning loss for our kids. Several of my kids came to me very far behind, and we had to make sure they got caught up with basic skills. I can't imagine the things that teachers and support staff are seeing in the classroom right now, because the learning loss for kids. Imagine this: a 10th grader right now. The last time they had a normal school year was when they were in 7th grade. Imagine something like that. A normal school year where you just went through a whole school year normally was in 7th grade. That learning loss is huge for kids. We got to be able to make that up for kids, and we got to prioritize state funding around that. But then, Mr. Gray, I'm going to propose something very, very crazy and very drastic, but it's absolutely needed for our state. Why is it that we didn't allow? We had it for free. Every single K through 12 child needs access to internet across our entire state. We could have done that in the pandemic. And it would have been free. The federal government was going to pay for it. But again, you got Greg Abbott. Greg Abbott is the one playing politics over people. He made sure that we didn't make sure. He said, well, no, I don't need all this pandemic money. He cut it off at the expense of our kids. Our state legislature in the next session can actually make good on that by providing every single child, every K through 12 child, access to internet. That would change the dynamics.
Isn't that going to raise taxes if you do?
No, it's cost neutral. The federal government, again, just like the healthcare situation with Medicaid, with Medicaid, it's in a lockbox, earmarked for Texas, and because this one guy says no, we can't have it. Local control. If Republicans really are talking about local control, let a county judge or let a municipality decide if they want to access those federal dollars, not some guy in Austin.
That's the way they do it. Then.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. I'm proposing that. I think every single child in Texas should have access to internet.
What is the makeup in the Texas State House now?
Yeah. So it's crazy enough.
I mean, if you make these proposals, it's nice you make the proposals, but I mean, you got to start somewhere.
We do.
But isn't it controlled by people who don't want that kind of thing?
It is controlled by Republicans in both houses, but we've got such a margin where Democrats made extremely good gains in the last in the 2020 election, where we only need about 10 to 15 Republicans to come along with us and get something passed. Just 10 to 15. It's not like many times before where we needed a whole bunch of Republicans to come on board with our agenda. And the crazy thing about it is that there are 10 to 15 Republicans who live in purple districts around Dallas, around Houston, around San Antonio, around Austin, where their constituencies are saying, well, wait a minute, why is it that we're not having, our property taxes are going up? Why is it that we're not having internet access for our kids? In places like Collin County, where I was listening to a podcast just a few days ago, where in Collin County, 70% of folks voted Republican in the 2012 election. In the 2020 election, 51% of Republican. There are Republicans that represent those folks up there who want to keep their jobs. The only way you're going to keep their jobs is if they compromise with Democrats, because they're moving more and more. As people are moving here, their counties and their seats are moving more and more Democrat. If they want to stay in office, they got to actually start doing stuff for people.
All right. All right. Let's go with a close of what you want to do for the people of the state of Texas. And as you say, you want to keep it 100. Let's keep it 100 in District 100.
Yeah.
Let's go with a closing.
Yeah.
Tell us why we should vote for you.
Yeah. So, Mr. Gray, I thank you for this space to be able to, as I said, share my story and talk about the issues that are really important to folks across District 100 and beyond. I'm asking people to vote for me because I have spent my entire adult life advocating for working class people and want to broaden the ambit of concern for people's lives. I think that I am the only person in this race who can amplify the muted voices of House District 100. I think most of the issues that have affected and exist for House District 100 are not just theory to me. They're my lived experience and things that I've gone through every single day. And I think that we need a fighter in Austin to help legacy that's already been started by our current state representative and continue that fight as we continue to get out of this pandemic and get everything back on track for Texans. And I think I'm that person.
All right. Angelo, I think you can take us home right now. You can bring the camera in just to me and want to talk to. This is where I do my Bernie Mac type.
All right. I love it.
Commission Nation Network, the real CNN. You know, so I want to thank you for tuning in to the real CNN, Commission Nation Network, the best radio show from Como to the Congo, and as I've often said, loved by many, hated by few, respected by all, second to none. So as we go to our closing, we're going to play a little bit more of that drop, the digital drop of Marquise Hawkins, and then we'll fade out with some music from one of our local artists, Janelle Gray, and we will see you guys back tomorrow. Yep, tomorrow. We have taken this on a daily journey of information freedom. Commission Nation Network.
This is my neighborhood, Oak Cliff, the heart of House District 100. It's one of the greatest places in all of Dallas. A rich history, thriving small business, and a neighborhood where everyone is always looking out for each other.
But in spite of all of the amazing attributes about my neighborhood, the outlook for far too many is bleak. Some can't afford the rising property tax bills, and most young people can't afford rent. Everyday students watch their dreams evaporate because of a lack of access that they deserve. And even worse, our elders don't have access to adequate health care and fear a health diagnosis. We simply cannot accept this as normal in our district. I'm Marquise Hawkins. I was born to a mother who instilled in me the values of hard work, perseverance, but above all, a belief that while success is not guaranteed, we live in a nation where if you work hard, any opportunity should be possible. We didn't have much money, so we struggled. But it was only with the help of family, friends, and public school teachers who wouldn't give up with me that I'm here today. They would say, go to school, get your lessons, and bring home a degree. So I did just that, graduated from Morehouse College and then earned my master's at Cornell. Then I became a public school teacher because I wanted to impact students in the way that so many adults had impacted me. I pushed my students to excel to the highest levels because I didn't want their climb to be a seat as society often wants to make it. I taught them that they had the power inside of them to change their lives and their surroundings. In House District 100, we too have the power to reshape the lives of people who so desperately need our help. And that's why I'm proud to be a candidate for House District 100, because it's our time. It's our time to demand property tax relief for both homeowners and renters. It's our time to give every student a fair shot at life by providing them the access to an excellent education while also putting the needs of public school teachers and support staff at the forefront. It's our time to fix the broken criminal justice system that disproportionately convicts Black and brown people. It doesn't take 100 years to do this. It just takes political will and courage. I know how to fight hard and make sure that we are improving lives. Because if Austin starts to look and think like us, just like Dr. King said, there's no stopping point short of victory. My mom always said that the only thing that you ask people for is a chance. I'm asking you for a chance to finally change the outcomes of our neighbors in District 100. In this election, more than any other, we can deliver real change in the lives of everyday people because this is our time. I'm Marquise Hawkins, and I need your vote to become the next state representative in House District 100.